Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered how powerful connection can be? How deeply someone can miss you, not just because of the time you spend together, but because of what you represent, what you bring into their life. The moment they realize they've lost something they truly value, the moment they understand your worth, it hits them like a ton of bricks. People often don't realize your value until it's too late. This is a truth many don't fully grasp until they're standing in the aftermath of a relationship, staring at the pieces of something that once felt whole. It's easy to take people for granted when they're always there, when they're a constant in your life. You might get used to their presence, their support, and their love. But in the blink of an eye, everything can change. And in that change, the realization of their worth, your worth, becomes painfully clear. The key to understanding this lies in human nature. People are wired to be reactive rather than proactive. We often only appreciate things when they are no longer in front of us. When the absence of something or someone forces us to look inward and reflect on what we truly had. It's not uncommon to hear someone say, "I didn't realize what I had until it was gone," because that's how deep appreciation often takes root through the loss. When someone is in the presence of something constant, something they feel they can rely on, it becomes easy to forget how rare that consistency is. You are there, time and time again, offering support, love, and understanding. You become the person who holds their hand through difficult times, the person who cheers them on during their successes, the person they turn to when they need advice. And over time, this becomes part of the background noise of their life. It's not that they don't appreciate you in the moment, it's just that they don't fully grasp the magnitude of your presence because it's always there. It's only when that presence is no longer available that they begin to understand how much you brought to their world. The silence, the emptiness, the sudden absence can create a vacuum that forces them to examine their own life, their own actions, and eventually the role you played in it. It's in this silence that your value is discovered. And that discovery can often feel like a sudden realization, an awakening that comes after the fact. This isn't just a fleeting moment of realization either. It often becomes a long, drawn-out period of reflection. As they try to fill the gap left by your absence, they begin to notice all the little things that once went unnoticed. The way you made them feel seen, the way your presence brought a sense of calm or excitement depending on what they needed at the time. Your support wasn't just about the grand gestures. It was in the quiet moments, in the conversations, in the way you just were there. They begin to recognize that these things didn't just happen by chance, they were built on trust, respect, and a deep, often unspoken understanding. The problem with this realization is that it usually comes too late. The person who didn't fully appreciate what they had in the moment is now left trying to reclaim something that's already slipping through their fingers. And in this moment of clarity, they often find themselves filled with regret, longing for the very thing they never gave the proper attention to when they had the chance. What makes this so painful for both parties is the fact that once the value of what's been lost is realized, it cannot simply be restored. The relationship, the connection, whatever it was, has changed. The other person is now in a position of chasing something they had all along, but with the understanding that it's not easily replaceable. You, the one who was taken for granted, have moved on, and while that might bring a sense of empowerment, it's also a difficult process to endure because the value of something lost is often only truly understood in the aftermath. This cycle plays out time and time again in relationships, personal, romantic, and even professional. It's why so many people look back on their lives with a sense of regret, wondering how they didn't see the value of the people they had until it was too late. It's a painful truth, but it's also a necessary one. Only by losing something can we truly understand how much it meant to us. Only when the silence becomes deafening do we begin to hear the things we once took for granted. True connection goes beyond physical presence, it's about emotional impact. Many people assume that relationships are built purely on physical proximity, the time spent together, and the tangible aspects of companionship. We often think that if we are physically close to someone, if we share space, if we're in the same room or place, we are truly connected. But real connection doesn't rest on physical closeness. It is shaped by the emotional bond you create, the shared experiences that carve a deep space in each other's hearts, and the impact you have on one another's lives that goes far beyond what the eyes can see. At the heart of true connection is vulnerability. It's about sharing pieces of yourself, your hopes, your fears, your dreams, your struggles with someone who is willing to receive that and give it back in kind. Emotional connection is about understanding, empathy, and the ability to make someone feel truly seen, heard, and valued. It's the quiet moments that matter the most, the comforting words during times of distress, the recognition of one's potential when the world seems dark, and the encouragement that comes not from obligation, but from the desire to see the other person thrive. These are the things that create a bond far stronger than any physical proximity could ever achieve. When you form a true emotional connection with someone, you begin to understand each other on a level that goes beyond surface interactions. You see beyond the facade they put up to the person they are beneath flaws, imperfections, insecurities, and all. And in that space, where authenticity can breathe, a deeper connection is born. This connection transcends mere time spent together. It's not about how many hours you've shared in one another's company. It's about how much of yourself you've given and how much of yourself they've received and reflected back to you. True connection doesn't happen automatically or instantly. It's built slowly, over time, as trust is earned and as both people allow themselves to become vulnerable with one another. It's not about grand gestures or the expectation of perfection. It's the everyday moments, the quiet conversations at the end of a long day, the shared laughter that comes from inside jokes, the knowing glances that say everything without a word being spoken that build the foundation of a connection that stands the test of time. This emotional connection has the power to change lives. When you connect with someone on this deeper level, they feel a sense of belonging. They feel understood and supported, not just in their successes, but in their struggles. You give them something irreplaceable, the feeling that they are not alone. That no matter what happens, they have someone who truly understands them, who cares about them on a level that is far beyond what can be measured by time or proximity. The impact of emotional connection is profound. It shapes how people view themselves, how they navigate the world, and how they relate to others. A person who feels emotionally connected to someone else feels more confident, more empowered, and more capable of facing the challenges of life. This connection creates a sense of safety and trust that allows both individuals to grow together, to help one another evolve into the best versions of themselves. They learn from each other's experiences and perspectives, and they support one another's journey without judgment. Physical presence alone cannot create this level of connection. You can spend hours in someone's company, sitting side by side, but if there is no emotional depth to that relationship, if there is no genuine understanding or sharing of each other's worlds, then the connection remains shallow. It is the emotional exchanges, the words of encouragement, the shared silence, the presence in both joyful and painful moments that forge a bond that can withstand time, distance, and life's inevitable changes. True connection is a force that transcends the physical. It's the invisible thread that holds two people together, even when they are miles apart. It's the reason why people can still feel connected to someone even after they've been apart for years. It's the emotional impact of having been part of someone's journey, of having shared in their growth and their challenges, that creates a lasting imprint in their heart. When a connection is based on emotional depth, it cannot be erased or forgotten easily. Even if life pulls people in different directions, the bond remains because it was built on something far more powerful than just being physically present. It was built on understanding, care, and the ability to make one another feel truly seen and valued. A man misses you when he realizes how you helped him grow. Growth is something we often associate with personal development, career achievements, and self-improvement. But in the context of relationships, growth is even more profound. It's the way one person's presence, their influence, and their support can help another person evolve into the best version of themselves. This type of growth is not always tangible or easy to measure, but its effects are undeniable. It's the subtle shift in mindset, the push to go beyond what's comfortable, and the realization of potential that was once unseen. When a man truly grasps how you have played a role in his growth, it's like a light bulb turning on. It's the moment when he sees the impact you've had on his life, how your encouragement, your belief in him, and your unwavering support helped him reach places he never thought possible. Often, this realization doesn't happen in the heat of the moment. It comes later, when he is faced with challenges, opportunities, or obstacles, and he finds himself thinking, if it weren't for what they taught me, I wouldn't have been able to handle this. It's in these moments when the lessons and the growth you've inspired come rushing back to him that he begins to truly appreciate the depth of what you've done for him. This kind of growth is not always something that's immediately visible or acknowledged. It doesn't always come with a grand thank you or a noticeable shift in behavior right away, but the effect is long-lasting. When someone helps you grow, they are not just teaching you a set of skills or providing advice, they are showing you the way forward. They challenge your limiting beliefs, help you see the possibilities that lie ahead, and instill a sense of confidence that you can achieve things you never imagined. You become the mirror that reflects his potential, and this is the type of growth that has a lasting impact. It's easy to overlook the role someone plays in your development while you're busy living day to day. You might think that the growth you experience is solely the result of your own efforts, that it's about your hard work and determination. But when someone is there, consistently supporting you, showing you the way, and pushing you to be better, that influence cannot be underestimated. Their guidance, their perspective, and their belief in you become the foundation on which your growth is built. But this realization often comes when the person you help grow is left to navigate life without you. When the daily support, the words of encouragement, and the push to do better are no longer there, that's when they begin to understand the depth of your contribution. It's like trying to run a race without a coach who believed in you, or facing a challenge without someone by your side who taught you how to overcome obstacles. In those moments of challenge and decision-making, he will start to recognize how much you helped him build the strength, the resilience, and the perspective he needed to face life on his own. When a man misses you because of how you helped him grow, it's because he realizes that you weren't just a part of his life for the good times. You were there when he needed to become more, when he needed to rise above his circumstances, and when he needed to see himself in a new light. The growth you facilitated wasn't always comfortable, but it was necessary. It was the tough conversations, the moments when you didn't let him settle for mediocrity, the times when you challenged him to be more than he thought he could be. Those moments, though difficult at the time, were the ones that led to his transformation. And when he comes to understand that, he begins to miss you, not just because of the memories or the fun times, but because of the role you played in his journey. He realizes that your presence wasn't just about filling a space in his life. It was about shaping his future, helping him become the person he is today, and making him believe in his own potential. This realization can be a powerful thing for him, one that can't be taken lightly. It's not just about feeling nostalgia. It's about recognizing how your influence forever changed his path and helped him become a better version of himself. Absence creates the emotional void that reveals your true worth. It's a concept that many people only come to understand when faced with the reality of losing something or someone they took for granted. When everything is familiar, when someone is always within reach, it's easy to overlook just how significant they are in your life. But when they are no longer there, when their presence is suddenly absent, it forces you to confront the void they leave behind, and that's when you truly start to understand their worth. The absence of someone doesn't just highlight what they provided in the moment, it amplifies the emotional impact they had on your life. You begin to notice the small things that went unnoticed before, the way they made you feel, how their presence brought a sense of comfort or stability, the way their words lifted you when you were down. The absence is like a space that opens up, and it's within that space that you realize how much of your emotional world was tied to them. It's not just about missing the persona, it's about missing the energy, the support, and the emotional depth they brought to your life. The absence creates a kind of vacuum, an emotional emptiness that can be unsettling at first. It's a feeling that many try to fill quickly, whether by occupying themselves with distractions, other people, or new routines. But no matter what you do, that void remains, a constant reminder of what was lost. It's in this void that the true weight of their presence is revealed. You begin to understand that what they gave you wasn't just about their physical presence, it was about the emotional connection, the way they made you feel valued and understood. When that's gone, you start to see how much of your own sense of security and comfort was tied to them. This realization isn't always immediate. Often, it takes time for the absence to fully sink in, for the true magnitude of what's missing to be felt. At first, you may not even be able to articulate it. You may not fully grasp why you feel so unsettled, so out of place. But as the days go by, the absence becomes more pronounced. You start to notice the little things, the empty chair, the quiet moments, the silence that fills the space where their voice once was. These things may seem insignificant on the surface, but they are the markers of a much deeper loss. It's the emotional impact of their presence that you start to miss most. When someone is absent from your life, it doesn't just expose the holes they left, it also forces you to confront the ways they helped shape your world. Their absence can reveal how much they were involved in your emotional well-being, how much they contributed to your growth, and how much they affected your outlook on life. They weren't just filling a space in your life, they were helping to build it. They were the ones who listened when no one else did, who saw things in you that you didn't see in yourself, and who provided the support you needed to grow and evolve. Their absence, while painful, gives you the opportunity to reflect on the ways they helped you become who you are. In some cases, the absence is so profound that it becomes a catalyst for change. It forces you to reevaluate your own sense of self-worth and your own role in relationships. When you recognize the void someone's absence creates, you begin to understand not just how much they meant to you, but also how you've allowed them to define certain parts of your life. This awareness can lead to personal growth. It can teach you how to fill that void within yourself, how to build the emotional resilience to face the absence without losing your sense of self. The void may never completely disappear, but it can become a reminder of the importance of emotional depth and connection in your life. The emotional void that comes from absence is not something to be feared, it's something to be understood. It is a reflection of the emotional bond you shared, and it serves as a testament to the impact that person had on your life. It reveals how deeply they touched you, how much they contributed to your journey, and how their presence made a lasting imprint on your heart. The absence doesn't diminish their worth. Instead, it makes their value clearer, more apparent, and more deeply felt. It forces you to confront the fact that sometimes we don't truly understand what we have until we no longer have it. And in that realization, we come to appreciate it on a whole new level. Walking away can empower both you and the other person. It might seem counterintuitive at first because we often associate walking away with loss, hurt, or abandonment. But walking away can be one of the most empowering choices you make, both for yourself and for the person you are walking away from. In relationships, whether personal, romantic, or professional, there comes a point when staying no longer serves either party. It's in those moments that walking away becomes not just a necessity, but an act of empowerment and opportunity for growth, and a chance for both people to find what they truly need. For you, walking away might be about reclaiming your own power. It's a decision to stop giving away pieces of yourself in an unhealthy or unreciprocated relationship. Sometimes we give so much of ourselves that we forget who we are, we lose sight of our own values, and we become emotionally depleted. In these situations, walking away allows you to reclaim your self-worth. It's an acknowledgement that you deserve more than what you've been accepting, that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable, and that you are worthy of respect, love, and understanding. Walking away is not a sign of weakness. It is a courageous acknowledgement that you deserve to be in a space that nurtures you, where your needs are met, and where you are appreciated for who you are. On the other hand, walking away can also empower the other person. It can serve as a wake-up call, an opportunity for them to reflect on their actions, their role in the relationship, and what they are truly willing to give. Often people don't realize the depth of their impact on others until that person is no longer there. The absence of your presence may force them to confront their own shortcomings, to reevaluate their behavior, and to take responsibility for the things they didn't do or the things they neglected. Sometimes people need space to grow, to learn, and to recognize their mistakes. Walking away can create that space, allowing them to work on themselves without the distraction of the relationship. In this way, walking away becomes a form of self-respect for both parties, a way to break free from cycles that aren't healthy and to allow both people the freedom to evolve. Walking away isn't just about physically leaving. It's about emotional detachment too. In relationships, there are often moments when emotional attachment is a barrier to growth. You may find yourself holding on to someone or something out of habit, out of fear of loneliness, or out of a sense of obligation. But when you walk away, you give yourself the permission to detach emotionally from the situation. You let go of the weight that has been holding you down and create the space for new opportunities, for new growth, and for new experiences. It can be a process of rediscovery where you reconnect with your own dreams, desires, and passions that may have been put on hold. For the other person, walking away can be the catalyst they need to become better, to improve, and to move forward in their own life. It is easy to take things for granted when someone is always there, always available, always supporting. But when that support is no longer there, it can push someone to reflect on what they've lost and what they need to do to regain it. It's like the absence of a coach, a mentor, or a partner who's been guiding them. The void left behind can create the opportunity for them to grow, to become more self-sufficient, and to learn how to take responsibility for their own actions. In both cases, walking away creates space for change. It's a bold step forward, a decision that recognizes that growth cannot happen in stagnant, unhealthy environments. Whether you are walking away from a toxic relationship, a job that no longer serves you, or a situation that limits your potential, the act of leaving allows both you and the other person to evolve into something new. It is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter, a new opportunity to reflect, rebuild, and grow. The empowerment that comes from walking away is not about leaving in anger or bitterness. It's about leaving with clarity, with a sense of purpose, and with the knowledge that you are doing what is best for both parties. It's about knowing when to step back, when to release the grip on something that is no longer serving you, and when to let both yourself and the other person breathe, reflect, and grow. It's an act of self-love, of understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to walk away, so both you and the other person can heal, evolve, and move forward. When someone realizes the absence of your presence, they begin to understand the value of what they had. Often, it's easy to overlook or take for granted the things and people that are always available in our lives. We go about our days caught up in routines with the assumption that what we have will always be there. But when that person, that presence is no longer around, the impact is immediate. The realization of just how much they contributed to your life, how much they added to your world, becomes clear. It's a sobering moment when someone recognizes that they didn't fully appreciate what they had until it was no longer available to them. The absence of someone creates a void, a space that was once filled with their presence, their influence, and their energy. In their absence, there's a sharp contrast between how things were and how they are now. This void forces people to reflect on what was lost, and in doing so, they begin to understand the significance of what they took for granted. It's often when someone is no longer a part of your daily life that you realize just how much they shaped your experiences, your mindset, and your emotional landscape. This realization can be a turning point for the person who has experienced your absence. They might begin to see things in a different light. Perhaps they were too caught up in their own world, too focused on other priorities, or too comfortable in the familiarity of your presence to recognize the value you brought. But once you are no longer there, they may begin to notice the subtleties that once made their lives richer and more meaningful. They may begin to realize that you were not just a person who occupied space in their life, you were someone who contributed, who uplifted, and who made a difference. For many people, the realization comes through contrast. They feel the difference when the energy shifts, when the conversations stop, when the support is no longer there. They notice that their world feels a little emptier, that their days aren't as bright, and that certain things feel harder to face without the comfort of knowing you were there. It's in this contrast that the true value of what you brought to their life becomes evident. The absence of your presence amplifies the things you did, whether it was the little gestures of kindness, the words of encouragement, or the emotional stability you provided. All of these things were woven into the fabric of their daily existence. And now that they're gone, their absence creates an undeniable shift. What many people fail to realize until someone walks away is that the impact of a person isn't just in the obvious moments. It's not just in the grand gestures or the big events. It's in the day-to-day interactions, quiet support, the shared moments of vulnerability, the constant encouragement. These are the things that create a sense of security and belonging. When someone is no longer there to provide this steady presence, it's impossible to ignore just how important that consistency was. For the person who has left, their absence isn't just felt emotionally, it's felt mentally and physically as well. They begin to notice how they miss the conversations that once seemed trivial, the laughter that filled the room, and the sense of calm that came from simply knowing someone was there. They realize that what they once had was more than just a relationship, it was a dynamic that contributed to their overall well-being and sense of balance. Their absence makes people confront the fact that they were not as self-sufficient as they thought. They were not as independent or as emotionally strong as they believed, and this realization can stir feelings of gratitude, regret, and longing. What's interesting about the absence of someone is that it doesn't always have to be permanent for its effects to be deeply felt. Even if the absence is temporary, the experience of not having that person around brings clarity. The realization that someone's presence was an essential part of your life can be both humbling and empowering. It can also shift how people view relationships moving forward. It makes them more aware of the need to appreciate what they have when they have it, to recognize the value in the people who add meaning to their lives, and to not take for granted the things that might seem small in the moment. Ultimately, the absence of someone reveals what they brought to your life in ways that nothing else can. It's only when they are no longer there that the full extent of their contribution becomes clear. Their absence forces you to reflect on the relationship, to recognize its importance, and to see how their presence made your life better in ways you hadn't fully realized. In conclusion, the journey of recognizing the true worth of someone's presence often comes with moments of absence. It's in these moments of distance, when the usual interactions fade, that we are forced to confront the depth of their impact on our lives. Whether it's through their ability to help us grow, the emotional void their absence creates, or the empowerment that comes from walking away, we begin to realize that our lives were shaped in ways we may have overlooked. A person's influence isn't always immediately felt, but it becomes undeniably clear when it's no longer there. In that realization, both the person who left and the one left behind can discover a newfound appreciation for what was and what could have been. Ultimately, absence reveals value. And in that space of understanding, there is growth, change, and the opportunity for deeper connections in the future.